What is going on? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a good day so far, and I hope everybody had a good week. The national championship is tomorrow, or probably today when you're watching this, and we're gonna go over some predictions and kind of not really break down in depth, but give some thoughts and opinions about it, make my predictions, and I'm non-biased. All right, so neither of these teams are my team that I root for, so I'm completely non-biased. Gonna give my honest opinions and thoughts on what's going to happen in this game. So, if you are new to this channel and you do enjoy this video, at the end of it, I would greatly appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the channel. I've covered both these teams a good bit, and I've loved covering both these teams. So, all these fan bases, or both these fan bases, have been awesome to me. So, nothing against either team. I think both teams have bright futures. I think both teams are having outstanding seasons, and I think you should be happy no matter what. So, let's get straight into it. So, Miami Hurricanes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. Miami will be playing this on the away side of their home stadium because they are the lower seed in this game. So, when you look at Miami, they have when you look in the trenches in Miami, on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, on the line of scrimmage, if you combine both, they're probably the best team on the line of scrimmage, I would say, in the entire country. They have an outstanding defensive line. They have an outstanding offensive line, and everybody knows that. So, I do want to start with Indiana first, though. So, Indiana, explosive offense, strong tempo, like really quick tempo. They could play really whatever pace they really want to. Balanced attacks, so they have a very good passing attack and a very efficient run game, I would say. Playmakers at pretty much every level of the offense. Now, Miami, when you look on the defense, like I said, smothering defense that forces mistakes, which you saw in the Ole Miss game, you saw it in the Ohio State game, you saw it pretty much all throughout the playoffs so far this year. Physical front seven, like I said, they have one of the better offensive lines in the entire country. You know, they're very good at, first off, recruiting, developing, and pretty much everything with the offensive line. They're super big, super physical, and they're pretty efficient on offense. And they have some very good weapons. When you look at guys like Mark Fletcher, when you look at super dynamic players like Kadarius Toney, very dynamic, and be hard for any defense to control. So I do want to go over keys to victory. So this is my thoughts and opinions. So when you look at keys to victory for Indiana, you gotta control the line of scrimmage, because like I said, Miami's pass rush, Miami's run defense, pretty much everything about this Miami defensive front is outstanding. Got to control the line of scrimmage. I think this game is really going to come down to who's better in the trenches. Who wins that battle in the trenches? I think that's a big key to this game for both sides of the ball. So Indiana, I'd say really, yeah, like I said, control the line of scrimmage. Like, establish the run game early to open up the passing game a little bit. Keep Miami's pass rush off the quarterback. That kind of goes with controlling the line of scrimmage, and really wear down that defense as much as you can. Like, burn the clock as much as you can. Extend these drives, make them long. Don't go out there and score immediately unless you can. I mean, I'm not saying don't go out there and score immediately, because obviously you want as many points as you can get, but don't rush. Just take it easy. Take it easy. Wear down the defense. I think that's gonna be big for Indiana. Protect the quarterback, because Miami's gonna bring pressure from pretty much all angles. Got to stay in a clean pocket. Got to keep Fernando in a clean pocket, which they've done pretty good so far. But this is probably the best defensive front they've played so far. Exploit the secondary matchups, so hit big targets early. You have guys like Elijah Surratt. You have some other guys out there. Stretch the field that you could really stretch the field vertically with. So I think that's going to be a big key to the game. Really show off what Fernando Mendoza has done best all season and convert third downs. I think that's going to be big as well. That's big in any game. And that's something I do want to talk about with this Miami offense. And we'll get to that in just a minute, is the third down situations over there. So, Miami Hurricanes defense, like I said, they're smothering. They're going to create turnovers. They have an elite front seven, really, on both sides of the ball, They can, or not on both sides of the ball, but on the offensive side, they are going to dominate. It's going to be tough for this Indiana team. It's going to be very tough for this Indiana team. The secondary, super quick, super disciplined. They do limit the big plays, which you've seen Indiana do Indiana's converted a lot of big plays this season, so Miami it's going to be tougher for Indiana to do that against this Miami defense. When you look at Ole Miss, when you look at that game against Ole Miss, they didn't give up as many big plays as really I guess Georgia did against Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss and even Keywan Lacey outside of that one big Keywan Lacey run. So that's something to watch for as well. Yeah, like I said, Indiana really win the trenches, protect the quarterback, stretch the field, exploit the turnovers, don't turn the ball over, which Miami's also done Indiana, I'm sorry, has done very good at. They haven't really turned the ball over much. So, really, if Indiana can play at their own pace that they've played at all season, you're probably in a pretty good spot. So, Miami, key to victory. You got to disrupt Indiana's rhythm. Like I said, this offense, once they get clicking, they're clicking. You've seen it all season. You saw it against Oregon. You saw it against Alabama. You saw it against Ohio State even. You got to create mistakes in the passing game, which is going to be very tough when you have the potential number one overall pick on the other side. Control the clock, I would say. Got to wear down the Hoosier defense. We've seen, if you look at the Oregon game, early on in that game, after that pick six on the first drive, Dante Moore and Oregon moved the ball pretty fairly on the Indiana defense. And I think Indiana has one of the more underrated secondaries in the entire country. I think their defense is very good, very stout, which I don't think anybody would argue that. But you'll see them get worn down. If this offense scores very fast, this defense creates turnovers, and their defense is going to stay on the field pretty often because they're just scoring so many points. Well, that's how it was against Oregon, at least, when you look at the Oregon game. Win the trenches, Miami. Win the trenches. That's what you've done best at really all season. So just keep that going. Win the trenches. Win the trenches. So, yeah, Miami. Control the tempo. Win the trenches. Force turnovers. Indiana. Protect the quarterback. Get your explosive plays like you've been doing and capitalize as quickly as possible, I guess, at the same time as controlling the clock. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, not going to go too in-depth. Just kind of give what I think about it. But I do want to talk about Miami on third down. Miami, if you're going to get on the third down situations, yeah, you converted third downs fairly well. Got to keep away from the third and longs. When you look at Miami's average third down, their average third down this season in the playoffs has been about 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 11. You want to get those 3rd and short yardages because it's going to be harder to convert those 3rd and 8s or 3rd and 11s against teams like Indiana. This Indiana team is different from the Ole Miss team, and the Ole Miss team was very good. This Indiana team, they're more like the Ohio State team, but obviously I'd say they're a little bit better than that Ohio State team. So, yeah, man, just stay out of the 3rd and long situations. That's going to be a key. You got to get Carson Beck going early. If Carson Beck does get some early turnovers, it's going to be pretty tough because you have seen him kind of fall into the pressure when he does turn the ball over a little bit early. So that's going to be a key is don't turn the ball over, Miami. If you look at Dante Moore, first play of the game, pick six, that kind of threw his rhythm off the entire game. You don't want that to happen to Carson Beck. You see that pretty often when Carson Beck does turn the ball over. That's when the interceptions start going. That's when the interceptions start falling. When you look at that game against Louisville that you lost earlier in the season, Carson Beck, after that one turnover, they just kept coming. It's like a confidence thing in his head. And I've noticed that. That was kind of his issue at Georgia, too. That's why he turned the ball over a lot at Georgia. So if Indiana's defense can get Carson Beck to turn the ball over pretty early, I like the spot that Indiana's in as well. So if you do look at the game odds, Indiana is an 8.5-point favorite. I think Miami is going to go into this with a chip on their shoulder. The line opened at -7.5. Now it's at -8.5. So Vegas is really liking Indiana here. Indiana's a -340 favorite. So Miami is opening up as the +270 underdog. So pretty heavy underdogs going into this. I don't think you can fully count Miami out. I do think this will be one of the tougher games for Indiana. I think that Miami is tougher than the Oregon team. I think Miami is probably tougher than the Alabama team as well. This Miami team has really, really came down during the stretch. Like they've really shown up when it really mattered down the stretch of the season in the playoffs. And we've seen that. You got to get some consistency in that offense if you're Miami. And you got to find a way to stop Fernando Mendoza and this explosive Indiana offense. Miami, I like your run game. You have Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher's been very good. very awesome. You've established the run game very well. I think that's going to be something big to watch for as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I have there. Now, final prediction. Miami fans, uh, you guys have been awesome to me. You guys showed me massive amounts of support. I've loved covering this team. Gonna pick Indiana here. I'm gonna pick Indiana here. I think Indiana so far has looked unbeatable. However, I don't think it's going to be that big blowout that a lot of people are probably speculating. I see some people out there saying Indiana is going to go out and blitz Miami. I don't think that's the case. I think this will be a tighter, closer game that any team has played against Indiana in the playoffs so far. I think Miami's going to stay into it, or they're going to stay in the game, but I will pick Indiana here. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't really know a score prediction. I don't really have a score prediction for you, but I do think Indiana's going to win the game. Miami fans, like I said, this is nothing against Miami. I think Miami is an outstanding team. I just think this Indiana team, coached by Kurt Cignetti, is incredible this year. I mean, you have Fernando Mendoza, who's going to go number 1 overall in the NFL draft. You have him. He won the Heisman. You know, this Indiana team has a lot of firepower everywhere. Lots of firepower everywhere. Miami, your team's very young. You have a very young team. And I think your odds next year are very high. I think Miami's odds to go out and win a national championship next year are very high. I think this Miami team's going to be better next year. And I think this Miami team's already outstanding, like I've said. Now, Indiana fans, probably crazy to say, because a few years ago, you probably would have called me crazy for saying it. Indiana's probably going to win the national championship this year. That's my prediction. That is my prediction. So, I will take Indiana Hoosiers to win the national championship. Again, nothing against either team. I've loved covering both teams. Both fan bases have shown me massive amounts of support. So that'll be it for this one. Like I said, wasn't going to go too in-depth. Just going to give my thoughts and opinions on it and kind of give my keys to the game. Maybe I'm wrong. I could totally be wrong. Because look, I've counted out Miami a few times this season, and it's came back to bite me. Miami has excelled under... They've really excelled as underdogs. Every time you count Miami out, they've came through in this playoffs. I think you could say the same about Indiana, though. So I think this is a battle. This is a battle for both teams. I think it's going to be an outstanding game. So if you did enjoy this video, I greatly appreciate it if you guys did drop subscribe to the channel, or at least consider subscribing to the channel. I'm like I said, you guys have shown me massive amounts of support. College football fans, I know I don't really do many game predictions, but I'm going to start doing them pretty often more, especially next season. So if you do enjoy these somehow, then I'm also welcoming you as well. So that's it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Look forward to a great game, and peace. I'll see you on the next one. Hope everybody has a good one.